In this episode, we're diving into Pearl, the final and most defining album from Janis Joplin. Released just months after her untimely passing, Pearl captures the raw power, soul, and vulnerability that made her a rock legend. This record isn't just an album. It's a lasting testament to Janis's voice and spirit. Stay with us.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Eric, how you doing, buddy?
I am well, my friend. How are you?
Well, we weathered the attempt at trying a new recording platform, and we almost got there, and then I think I started touching too many things, and it messed everything up, which is as I am wont to do.
Hey, it's always a work in progress. It's an experiment. So
yeah, I guess I should experiment with it first before we just try and jump in and make a recording. But well,
that's what we kind of did, right? It was an experiment, and the experiment failed, and now we're here ready to record.
And Dean put his tail between his legs and sent out a new invite back to the old platform that was
the old comfort zone.
He hung his head in shame and defeat, and we're back here. But anyway, either way, no matter what platform we're using to record, welcome to the 3324 podcast. Thank you for joining us, new people, returners, everybody. We appreciate the support. We love sharing and getting together and talking about the music and movies that shaped our lives. As you heard, Mr. Christopher Clark is with us. He doesn't even need a big introduction anymore.
No, I don't. I'm part of the furniture, man.
Yeah,
it definitely is, man. You are one of, just like the pictures behind us, and you're just kind of you're there, man.
You're a fixture.
I guess I am.
How does it feel?
Feels really good, man. I love being here.
It's good to be a fixture.
It's good to be a fixture.
Good.
And we love talking music with you.
I'm like an old roll top desk.
Because I tell you, man, your knowledge is.
Oh, you're talking about Chris. Okay, I thought you were gonna. I thought I was getting a compliment. I was getting ready to be like, "Oh, okay, we've known each other for so long."
Compliment you all the time, man.
Dean's knowledge is pretty.
I thought I was going to say, "Oh, I've known you for so long. I've never heard you speak that way to me." I was getting ready to be a little humble. Chris, go ahead. Let me step out of the way. Chris, go ahead. Go ahead and give Chris his flowers, as the kids say today.
What, you can give him compliments and I can't? What's going? What is that about? You're always complimenting him. I'm here. I am trying to do the same, right? And now it's like what about me? What about me?
I just called him a fixture, for crying out loud.
Yeah, man.
He's already been demoted.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think we all bring our combined point of view, knowledge, what have you, and I think it's definitely a good fit, and I think we should enjoy having you.
I enjoy being here.
Yeah. I think everybody that we have, to be honest,
yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that
amount of knowledge,
sure.
that they bring. It's what I love about it is it's usually different from the knowledge I have. So I love when someone can bring their backlog of information into it as well, and the little stories and the things that they read and all that kind of stuff. That's what makes it fun, and we hope everybody at home is enjoying it.
It's like I tell my students, I learn as much from them as they do from me. So
don't ever say that to your students. You're giving them too much power.
No, man, they're awesome. I love my students,
and I also love the personal experience too.
Yeah.
So whatever you're feeling here, and about certain things we're more excited about than others. Sometimes it's we're acknowledging the greatness of something. But there are things, we call ourselves homers as a result.
Yep.
But we tend to get a little bit more excited about those kinds of things. So, but anyway, I digress.
Eric digresses.
Yeah.
And we are here talking about literally I think a lot of people used to refer to Jim Morrison as kind of like a shooting star that kind of burned brightly. And I think Janis is probably even a more exaggerated case of that, because her window was really short. And she burned a lot harder
right.
than compared to Janis. Jim Morrison was on a slow roll with his excesses, but Janis was really, which we're going to get into, which is sad. I'm not trying to make light of it. It's just there was a lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about the 27 Club. We can't not. Nope. And I've even found out some more information too, that this even goes deeper than what we call the big three. So let's get into the stats, and then we'll start talking about this album. So Pearl from Janis Joplin was released in January of 1971, produced by Mr. Paul Rothchild, who seems to get the wrangling job for all these artists that live in excess. He went from Five Doors albums and then couldn't deal with it anymore, and then jumps right into Janis. So he went from literally the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah. So it seems, yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And this was released. This is her second solo album, and this was released posthumously. She literally died 3 days after recording, or the album wasn't finished, but she had recorded a song 3 days earlier than when she passed.
Mercedes-Benz was the last thing she recorded before she died, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a fun story I read about that too, which kind of hits us where we live. There were 3 singles released. Me and Bobby McGee hit number 1. Crybaby hit number 42. Get It While You Can didn't really do anything. Number 1 on Billboard, 4 times platinum. And Ms. Joplin was a 1995 Hall of Fame inductee. So she was pretty early on. I think, what did the Hall start in 89?
Yep. And she was one of the few that fairly, the rule is 25 years after your first record. She's one of the few that got in very shortly. Right. Yeah, I think it was in 4 or 5 years of making 25 years after the first. So.
Yeah, and that's,
doesn't happen.
Of course, things rules have changed, right? I mean, in the
it's still 25. It's just still 25 years, but it doesn't seem like it's 25 years. So when you say Nirvana's eligible, it's like that's 25 years. Like, yeah, it's more than 25 years.
The one that blew my mind was Green Day. When Green Day got in, I had to stop and think. I'm like, yeah, their first album came out in 1989.
So they were well. Yeah. So 1995 Hall of Fame inductee. Second solo album, her 4th album overall, because she was a member of Big Brother and Holding Company, and then kind of did some stuff with them, and then kind of went solo. Like I said, this was released January, so that was 3 months after she passed, and posthumously. She did die of a heroin overdose in October of 1970, and that's kind of the really sad story is Janis was plagued pretty much throughout her life by drug abuse. Even in, we think of the late 60s and everybody was doing everything, but Janis had these problems even in the early 60s with heroin and her addictions. And she went back home to Texas to kind of get clean. And she did for a while. And she was really very much holding the line against that. When she had a roommate that moved in, she said, I don't want any needles in the house. I don't want to see any of this. I can't be exposed to it. So she really was trying to walk the straight and narrow, but as time went on and then people she met, relationships she engaged in, just, the heroin and the drinking just kind of really was was just too much. Too much, and it's sad. So we'll save the 27 Club for later, so this way we could talk about the album. Janis, she's a singular voice, especially in the late 60s. There wasn't, there was kind of like, Jefferson Airplane. I think when I think of the late 60s, I think when I think of female psychedelic or this genre of music, I really like Grace Slick is almost the only other person that really jumps out. at this time. The 60, 67, 68 to 70 was kind of like it really was the boys' club when it came to rock and roll. I'm not saying that there weren't people out there with other genres, right, Eric? But
yeah, you had a lot of females like pop groups, sort of psychedelic pop type stuff. But yeah, as far as like just blues rock, was hardly anybody there, female wise. I mean, it was just and when you say singular voice, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, yeah, and I'm looking right now. I mean, Eric. I mean, Dean makes a really good point. Like, I just wrote '60s rock female singers, and the only one that you could truly say is like real like rock and roll with like that edge that Janis had. I mean, it's not there. It's like Brenda Lee, Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin.
Yeah,
I guess Tina Turner. I mean, I think Tina Turner would probably be in her league. Like
Tina Turner. Yeah, we could put. I think she could be in that conversation as well.
Yeah, I mean, the rest it's a little bit more mellow or like more pop than it would be like rock and roll.
Yeah,
like you think Janis is doing.
Yeah, and Tina wasn't part of that. That whole L.A. San Francisco thing that was going on, which again was very male dominated. Groups like Love and The Doors and Airplane, Grateful Dead. Just all that stuff that was just there. All these, male artists or male groups expanding their mind.
Right.
But there was only really two women that were out. They were on that outer edge.
And able to hold their own in the boys' club. I mean, even the Dead, they get John and Jean Godchild, but that's like probably a year after Janis passed away before they put her in the band. So.
And she kind of came in, right? I mean, she kind of came and went and,
about 7 years she was in the band.
But, you don't really hear her.
No, you don't. Not the way you would hear Janis. No.
So she's almost kind of been erased from like the Dead, kind of like
a lot of Deadheads would rather she had not been in the band at all. But
exactly. So, so there's controversy there, but
yeah.
Janis was kind of like a folk singer when she was younger and not the force of nature that she became. And, I went back and listened to her. I was, kind of skipping through her previous solo album, Got Them Old Cosmic Blues Again. And there is a difference between that and this album. There is, something different about this album. And part of it, I think, is Paul Rothchild. I'm not always a big fan of Paul Rothchild, but I think in this case, he was kind of able to tame the tiger, a little bit. Because as far as the arrangements, as far as the sound of the album, if you listen to her previous album, there are a lot of horns, a lot of like a lot of just stuff going on.
Bright, very bright.
But also like burnt, like horns that are just blaring and just kind of stuff that's everywhere. And I don't think Janis needed that. Janis needed like on this album, like a rock combo that's going to just back her. And let her do it. She didn't need the bombast of a horn section.
Not at all.
Like for her album. And I think what we get like on this album, for me, side one almost plays like like these are all like live songs. Like it feels like side one is like a recorded show almost.
Yeah, very in the room. Yeah, I agree.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because of the way side two starts off with me and Bobby McGee, it totally changes the tone and tenor.
Side two starts with My Baby.
Oh, I thought it started with me and Bobby McGee.
Nope, My Baby. Nope.
See that?
My Baby.
That's what you get for listening to it on streaming.
What I will say though, like the thing that sticks out to me about the record, and the way it is just the sound. Like I don't know if it's because I'm listening to a remix version 50 years after it came out, but like. It's got like it's balanced so well. Like every instrument and her vocals are like so perfectly balanced, and you can hear everything that's going on, and everything punches through very clearly without anything overpowering the other. And her guitar player John Till, man, this was kind of like it for him. He kind of went off into obscurity after that, but he to me, he makes the record. Like, he really complements Janis's vocals very well.
Yeah, there's not a lot of big names. I mean, I think the biggest name is Bobby Womack helping out a little bit on this album. But these guys are largely unknown. This was the Cosmic Blues Band or whatever, or no, this was the Full Tilt Boogie Band.
Yeah, I believe it was the Full Tilt Boogie Band. Yeah,
yeah. She's got so many names for her ensembles.
Big Brother,
like the first touring band. No.
Yeah, they went on the Festival Express with her.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chris makes a good point that, and I think that's the producer, right? Because those people are going to play their stuff, and it has that raw edge to it, but it's and like Eric said, it's kind of it's got a nice tight sound to it.
And it's it's very clear. Like I said, like the clarity on this record is just unbelievable. Like that's the thing that really struck me, being that it's over 50 years old.
Yeah,
well, and Dean, as you pointed out, I mean, it's to get that live sound. Then it really doesn't come as a surprise for the choice of musicians on this record. If they knew how to achieve a certain sound and get the balance right live, then you certainly can put it, in the studio. And her voice, I mean, she's forced to be reckoned with.
Yeah, she is.
Definitely she could overpower, I think, any instrument. I mean, it's just, but then to get those inflections right as well, and to kind of temper that, when she really kicks it in and kicks into that high gear, as it were, and then of course the screaming starts to, develop. You got to back off. You got to let her do her thing. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about for her.
Yeah, so. And I think that's the difference between a backing band and a group of musicians hired to come in.
Yep,
a backing band knows there's a nuance of lay back a little bit, and it was and like I said, that's why the side one sounds like almost like studio versions of live songs that they've performed, and they probably were, but they just it's so clean and crisp and the production is nice and tight, so it doesn't sound like it's live, but you could tell that it seems like they were all just in the room.
But it's got the punch, like you say, they're in the room. It's got the punch of a live performance, like the performance itself. Yes.
Yeah, and especially with the first two songs, "Move Over" and "Cry Baby." I mean, geez. I mean, she just came out of the gate. like Eric and I have talked about albums that kind of ramp up. This album doesn't ramp up. It starts out at 10 and goes to 11.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Just with those first two songs.
It should. Because
it almost feels like you're catching her mid-performance, actually, the way you start the album, because it's just kind of like she really kind of comes out like a cannon shot.
And it almost feels like when you get to Me and Bobby McGee and Mercedes Benz, it's almost like, okay, we're going to take this breather before we come in for to wrap it up with the couple of encores. It's almost like we need to give you that breathing room, because we've been coming at you so hard for the first 5 tracks.
Yeah, and I think that second side is like that intentionally. It is just a little bit more sedate, kind of a little bit more introspective, or the vocal acrobatics are really on those first two songs. I mean, "Cry Baby" is just her wailing. I mean that in a good way, like the way that only Janis can do, and it must. I'm saying it must have shred her vocals, but obviously it doesn't, because she's been doing that for years.
Yeah,
singing that way.
I think
she had a natural rasp, I guess, from drinking and smoking or whatever. She had.
Maybe Al Pacino should do an album of Janis.
I think your vocal cords do tend to develop. Not polyps, but
nodules,
but they toughen up. I do think that there's a sort of, and that
callus
explains the callus. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And I think that really helped in that sense. And because to do what she did, song after song after song, and then come back and try to sing and low and soft, and then build it up again. God, that is tough, and it's tough on the chords. And I dare say that I just she could have easily, her career probably could have ended had, she might have ended had she continued. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long she could have kept that going. Which is,
what? And I thought about that as well. I thought about, well, what if, just like, what if, Morrison, what if these people lived, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know what? We were in 70, 71, we were on the cusp of the singer-songwriter thing.
Yeah.
And I could see her not going total folk, but kind of bringing it down a little bit, because she had, if you listen to me and Bobby McGee, she's able to kind of keep that in control, but let it out.
Mm-hmm.
But not, let it out, not on the level that she does on like Cry Baby. And it gives that song so much more punch, where she just lets it out a little bit, and uses the right emotion. And that's really what makes that song like such a gem, is that she's got the ability to do what she does, but she doesn't feel the need, Chris.
I was going to, and then the idea that, like you said, she started as a folk artist. I read somewhere that one of her first records that she owned was like Leadbelly, which is blues, but it's like this acoustic blues with a little bit more of like a haunting vocal. So like, with that rasp, she doesn't, if she got to the point where she couldn't like belt it out anymore, I feel like she could have found her voice and used her voice in other ways and still respect that love of the blues and folk and rock and roll without necessarily, doing all the histrionics that she became so famous for. And I think she could have adjusted her voice to tone it down with age.
Because that absolutely, because she could have just been right up there with the likes of Howlin' Wolf and
exactly
those guys with those really raspy kinds of things. And it would have been interesting to have heard that,
or like a John Lee Hooker type of vibe.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, she definitely could have. It would have been unique. Not that she wasn't already, but that could have been a thing.
Yeah, and you can see that this was not a gimmick.
Yeah,
no.
If you watch any live performance, I was watching her when she was on Dick Cavett a couple times, and it is inside of her. The way she's moving and the way she's, interacting with the band. I mean, it's not like, oh, this is a gimmick I can kind of go with. She really, really felt this. And that's what comes through with that. Like, she's known for those upper register highs, but there is such emotion there is such feeling behind it. Like I said, I'm going to go back to Cry Baby, or even Move Over. It's just, you feel it.
Yeah.
And Cry Baby's a cover from like 1963, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it would have been done already, but she just really puts it, much the way a guitar player, puts it, when they're playing the blues, they can make that guitar, you can make the guitar feel it. I think she's able to really she's not performing it. It feels like she's living it. Just because of the way her voice is.
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, with a guitar, yes, you could really kind of get incredible, notes and really make them sing. But to have the power and the depths of soul for that to come out of you, to like she did it. And you could see it visually. And you watch her performances like Monterey Pop and all of these, you could see that it's flowing out of her. It's just sort of like, she's almost like, I don't want to say anything crass like vomiting, but it's just, I mean, it's real.
She's a conduit for it. It just comes.
My God. Yeah.
She can't hold back. Yeah.
You feel like this stuff is passing through her.
It's almost like a catharsis, not necessarily vomiting, but like a catharsis, because even though she's not necessarily a songwriter, like I don't think she has any songwriting credits on this record, if I'm not mistaken.
Does actually. She has Mercedes Benz. She wrote Move Over on her own.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's soul. But everything else was, obviously Chris Christopherson wrote me and Bobby McGee.
Or like the one I'm thinking of is like A Woman Left Lonely, right? Like if I read an article in Classic Rock earlier this week where, they talked about she had a lot of friends around her. She had lovers and all that kind of stuff. But like, all those people at the end of the day went home and it was just kind of her on her own. Like, so like, even though didn't write it, the idea of like A Woman Left Lonely, she found material that like spoke her voice and spoke her truth. And, she had a connection to what she was singing and what she was saying, even if it wasn't necessarily something she wrote herself, because she found material that was relatable to her.
And I'm sure the people
Same thing. She was able to interpret the material, Eric, right? She was able to kind of, take that, much like Elvis was a great interpreter. He didn't write anything, but he was able to match with material that he could connect with.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, I think even the best songwriters will agree that this was literally almost writing this stuff for her, right. Just to get it out there. I mean, just and I'm sure they were probably thinking, all right, Chris Christopherson, Bobby Womack. Womack had that voice too, right? That raspy kind of thing. But for that collaboration to happen, things like that is just I no doubt that they were using her as that conduit to get that stuff really out there for people to experience and to feel.
She was the only one doing it, right? I mean, she was unique. We say rock, but even I think we said Tina Turner was probably the closest to that. Also, where Tina Turner
energy,
would feel like she's a conduit. She's not in control. That these things are coming through her. Tina was very much the same way back then as well, too. Like, just look at any performance of Proud Mary, and anything from that era. And Janis was the same way. So these female artists, sorry to say, were few and far between.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And that's what made Janis so special. Is there wasn't, there was, she was just this wailing blues singing. I mean, wailing in a good way, presence that you felt like she's leaving it on the stage every time. Like that there's nothing, she's got nothing else left to give to her, Chris.
And and she's one of those artists where I'm like, for most of my life, I kind of avoided her because I figured it was just like caterwauling. And I really regret that now because, I really didn't. I was actually excited when you mentioned doing this record because I had only just really discovered it last month. Like my brother and I have been doing this thing where we pick a theme each month, and a couple of months ago was women, and this record was on the list of records we said we were going to listen to, and I was blown away, and I was like, I can't believe I avoided her for so long because I figured it would just be a lot of histrionics without any real substance, and I was so wrong. I mean, this record, I've been had it on loop like all day today. Like it's just such an amazing
I had a
album.
similar experience, Chris, that you mentioned it, because I just told Dean the other day, we were talking, and I said, I think I probably listened to this album maybe 3 times in my entire life. And, back in the day, there were people that I knew that were really into her, and and I heard it then, and again, I didn't particularly take her her seriously then or whatever. Just at that point in time, I was younger, stupid. It's just like, all she does is scream. Like, didn't appreciate what it was really about until I actually started listening to the blues and now I understand it. Now I understand,
and that might be why I got it finally. To your point, like I think that's why I finally got it. Is like I didn't really get an appreciation for the blues until I was in I want to say my mid to late 20s when I really started listening to the chess artists and stuff. And maybe that's why when I put it on last month, it finally clicked.
Yeah. I mean, all you ever hear on the radio is Piece of My Heart.
Or,
which is her,
Mercedes Benz.
Yeah. Which is probably one of the most famous screams ever when she's like, wow. So, if you hear that, if that's all you ever hear, it's like, okay, well that's a facet of what she does. She has that instrument. But on Pearl, like I said, it's there, but it's kind of also tamed a little bit, and we're looking forward to seeing her develop that, right? So people wouldn't have that one note assumption about her, right? And like I said, when you hear me and Bobby McGee, she's singing in like a Southern accent, literally.
Yep.
From the coal mines of Kentucky, it really. Like Southern and leaning into her roots, so she had those other, and especially Mercedes Benz, which is kind of a goof, it's obviously a goof song, but you really hear that accent really comes out, it's there.
That song I actually that's the one song like I remember as a little kid like really really liking.
Like it was used by Mercedes-Benz in the TV commercials. So
I was wondering if you were going to go there, Dean, because there's so many people on YouTube like podcasters like talking about this record or her singing that song, and they keep going, man. Won't you buy me? And they just keep, and I'm like, all right, let's rate it in.
Mercedes.
Some of them are just not, not really doing it.
So the cool thing about that song, though, which connects us, is that was written in Portchester, New York.
Was it really?
There was a bar called Vassens, VAHSEN.
No kidding.
It's Michael McClure, the big beat poet or the psychedelic poet from the 60s. He had kind of written a kind of like the first line, and she was in a bar in Portchester, and they scribbled it down on a napkin, and then she performed it that night at the Capitol Theater for the first time. Because she was playing at the Cap, which is, for
a lot of history.
Guys in Portchester, New York, Westchester County. But she was at the local bar drinking, which she will do before the show. And they were having a conversation, and the Michael McClure line came up, and then she scribbled it down quick, and then performed it that night at the show at the Capitol Theater in Portchester. And then,
that's wild.
And then, like Chris said, it was the last thing that was recorded before she passed away, not intentionally. She had passed away unexpectedly, and that was the final recording. Was her a cappella with like a hand clap or a tap, with knocking or something.
And the only other thing I was reading, and I don't remember the sequence because I was reading it after like grading papers, and I was like half asleep, but not half asleep while grading, half asleep.
Yeah.
No, but did she recorded? I forget what song it was, but it was like a birthday message to John Lennon, and I forget what the sequence was. She did that, and then Mercedes-Benz, or then she did Mercedes-Benz and just like recorded this like one-off song that she sent to Lennon that didn't come out on a box, didn't come out until a box set like years after both of them were gone, and it just both of those things were the last two things she recorded.
Yeah, I think she set it to Happy Trails.
Yes, that was it. Yep.
She didn't sing "Happy Birthday" to you. It was a happy birthday song, but set to the song "Happy Trails" by Roy Rogers and Bill Evans. So that a little bit of New York. If you're from the New York area, I looked it up. The bar is gone. It was replaced by some housing or something else, or was torn down and a building was put there. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to that bar just to walk in, but it's not there anymore. So it's what.
Yeah. Everything's knocked down for apartments now.
Well, but the Cap is still there. So
the Cap is still there.
A lot of history in that place.
Yeah.
Such an amazing building.
And this album has something very interesting because there's a song called "Buried Alive in the Blues," and it's an instrumental.
A good one too.
Yeah, but the reason why is because she had passed away before she could do the vocals.
Yeah.
So they actually, what I don't know if it was Paul Rothchild or whoever, they approached the guy who wrote the song and said, "Hey, do you want to put your vocals on it? We'll put it on the album in tribute." And he said, "No, leave it as is." Which I'm kind of like, okay, that's kind of interesting because that kind of stuff is usually saved for box sets and deluxe editions. Usually they'll scrape up some song somewhere to have her vocals on it, right? Especially a posthumous release that they would, but I thought it was an interesting tribute. It's like, okay, we had this song done and it was going to be sung by her, but we're going to quote unquote play it for you.
In the spirit of the session, I think.
I mean, and it fits in the sequence of the record for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, I'm sure they were close. The band members that's their tribute, I guess, in a sense to her. I think it's cool. I think it's
it's kind of neat. But when I was listening, I'm like, okay, here's an instrumental. Yeah. I'm like, oh, why is there an instrumental on a vocal artist album? But then you realize, well, it was a completed song, but she just hadn't laid the vocal on it. So it's kind of like,
here we are talking about it.
Yeah. So
that's,
I was like, this album, this song is on the album, and we're putting it on the album, right?
So that's one of those things where like in rock history, all these little, and idiosyncrasies and whatever on some of these records, and it's just this is the interesting shit that
that's why we do the show.
And you know what? And it caught me too, because I remember listening to it and being like, "Am I listening to an instrumental on a Janis Joplin record? Why is that there? I mean, it's cool, but why is that there?" Like,
Well, from what I understand, Janis was seeking out, possibly much like Eric Clapton when he wanted to join the band.
Mm-hmm.
Janis was going to go to England to try and join Yes, and the instrumental was her attempt at Prague to audition with Yes.
I believe that for a second.
See, it's how you sell it.
Well, Hendrix was supposed to join ELP, so
there was ELPH.
They were going to call themselves Help. I'm serious. You can look. ELPH. It's one of those legends of rock history. So.
Can you imagine?
So many. Wow. And we talk about her counterpart Jim Morrison. Supposedly she didn't like him at all, even though they were literally cut from the same cloth. But apparently they did not get along. He didn't care. I think she didn't care for him.
Her big drinking buddy was actually Pigpen from the Grateful Dead.
Yeah,
I think they had a like. I think they were more than friends for a little while.
Yeah, she was a Southern Comfort lady.
Yep, and so was he.
With her
or drink a booze hound rather.
Yeah,
well,
but
it's like I was talking about on our what was it, Morrison Hotel. It's like the mystique of Morrison. Maybe she just didn't buy it. Maybe she just didn't believe in what he was doing.
She called BS a little bit. Yeah,
but she was cultivating that same mystique as well, though, wasn't she? The hard drinking, the hard living, and all that.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the whole pretentious, like the poetry, the whole that kind of stuff that just was his aura or whatever. That's what he kind of built his legacy on, and then he became like I would say, L.A. Woman is probably around the time that would have been like he's more in line of what she was doing there, but when he was like wearing the leather pants and the whole like just sex symbol thing, and I to look at Janis, I mean, she's just real down to earth kind of. Definitely tell like the people she associated with and that kind of thing were just they probably weren't into that kind of like sort of almost glamour type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it was just sort of but they just did their real kind of rootsy and I don't want to say salt of the earth, but you know what I'm talking about. It's just I don't know if that's the case, but I would almost guess that's just to look at the two distinctly different in the way they approached or carried themselves or promoted themselves. It was just two completely things.
But it's interesting because they both had alter egos related to their substance abuse. The Doors called Jim Jimbo when he was loaded, and I think Pearl was supposedly her alter ego, and she was like, feeling good on whatever it was she was doing at the time.
Mm-hmm. So there was Paul Rothschild had a party in 1968, and Morrison became intoxicated. His behavior turned confrontational and lewd. Surprising, shocking.
Would have never thought that about Jim Morrison.
Joplin struck Morrison with a Southern Comfort bottle in self-defense and out of anger over his obnoxious behavior and attempts to grab her guitar. Joplin strongly disliked Morrison for his behavior, finding him to be a negative representation of a culture that celebrated destructive men while dismissing women.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Morrison grabbed her hair. Joplin grabbed a bottle of Southern Comfort and hit him over the head with it, knocking him unconscious. She reportedly warned him with a cold remark, "You mess with a Texas girl, you get the glass."
I could totally see that. That's hilarious.
Morrison probably was just like, I could see Morrison just on the ground anyway because he was always passing out. I mean, he didn't need to get hit with a bottle.
And he probably would have loved it.
Probably didn't remember it the next day anyway.
No, probably not. But he probably would have been laughing his ass off if he had gotten, just like bottle upside the head. Oh my God, he just strange. Yeah,
I think this is a good time to talk about the 27 Club because it's an unfortunate piece of music history that follows. It keeps coming up, and I don't know if it's luck, whatever
it's
it is.
eerie.
it is eerie. It's, you know,
and it's funny too, because these artists are known for it. Like my wife and I had off today for the Jewish holiday, and she walked into the room, and I had, the TV was playing the record, and she goes, "Isn't she the one that died at 27?" Like, it's almost like what people know some of these artists for now. It's crazy.
Yeah. So and I did a little digging, and there was actually a couple of more. We always talk about Hendrix, Morrison, and Joplin, but Brian Jones really kicked it off in July of 1969. Yep. Right? He died. Was he drowned?
He drowned in the pool at A.A. Milne's house.
Do you guys ever hear of Alan Wilson?
No.
Alan Wilson. He was literally the Brian Wilson of Canned Heat. In the a genius, but the same thing. He had a lot of problems. He died September 3rd, 1970, at the age of 27.
Same month as Hendrix?
Yeah, because Hendrix died September 18th of 70.
Wow.
Hendrix died like 2 weeks later. Then Janis in October of 1970, right? Like 3 weeks later. And then Morrison in 71. So that's, July of 69 to July 71. That's 2 years. And you lose at the time, 5 major rock artists within 2 years.
That's wild. And then
Canned Heat was a big thing. They were big at Woodstock, and Alan Wilson was like the genius behind Canned Heat, but he was a tortured person. He had a lot of emotional problems. You should read up about him. He was an interesting character, but he was also 27.
And then 2 years after Morrison, you had Pigpen, also 27 Club.
Yeah, so it became this, it had to be a crazy time because, again, anything went. There was not only alcohol, not only heroin, but all the psychedelics, right? Yeah. Just think of the LSD and just all the other, that kind of stuff. So you're knee deep in it if you're that type of person.
That's wild,
it's acceptable to it. So one of those, although Brian Jones apparently, I don't know if he was what the circumstances were around him drowning. Was he drunk? Did he fall in? Like
some people theorize he was actually murdered.
Yeah. So. So that unfortunate club, 27 Club, it's got some real, deep roots from 69 to 71.
And I mean, it goes all the way back to Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson is a member.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we saw it in the 90s. We saw like a resurgence.
Amy Winehouse.
And, Kurt Cobain, all those, all these artists. So it's just a crazy thing. Let's get back to what do you have?
I was going to say one other thing I was going to say, and it's hard to even think like all those artists dying like that. Cause I remember, being a freshman in high school when Cobain died and like what that did to people my age. Like, so I can't even imagine like you got Hendrix, Morrison and Joplin all within a matter of months. Like what that must've done to like people who like were passionate about music.
Because the ones in the 90s were spread out a little bit. This is literally like, you're losing like
in a row, man.
Yeah, in a row and quickly. And all of them, we could say that Morrison had kind of, Morrison maybe had kind of reached his potential, meaning they were 5 albums in. Hendrix was just kind of getting started and Janis had found her footing as a solo artist, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So those two were really and Eric mentions always about Hendrix, the what if of Hendrix. So that's the thing is most of Brian Jones had been with the Stones for a while, so he was kind of well into his career. But Hendrix and Joplin were just kind of getting started, meaning people were discovering them. They understood what Hendrix was about
and what really, they were working on when they died.
He worked hard in England to make his name, and everybody was impressed by what he was doing. And then
very unfortunate.
Yeah, what happened. So.
And they all share the same like. The intensity of their, you talk about burning bright, stars burning bright, and just would they have been, like I said, would they have been as intense, going forward, or is it just they just weren't meant to, that, it's one of those great mysteries that will,
yeah. And Janet, like I said, Janis left it on the battlefield each time, like you felt like almost like, in watching her perform, it almost feels like every concert could be her last,
right.
Even when she was drunk and, even some of the horrible ones, she was at Woodstock, but she asked them to not use her footage because she was so like wrecked and she went on so late and she was drinking all day waiting to go on and had to wait for everybody to finish their sets, and by the time she got on she was a mess, and then afterwards she's like, just please don't use it, and they didn't use her Woodstock footage.
I thought she was in the movie. I didn't realize that.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I think she requested to be removed from and maybe maybe since stuff has been released, but I believe in the initial release,
theatrical.
Wow.
Yeah, I think she was like, yeah, don't.
Yeah, I only know Monterey Pop. That's
probably what I'm thinking of. I must be thinking of Monterey Pop.
Yeah, because I haven't seen Woodstock in quite a while though. That's so. Yeah. And you do get confused. There's so many,
Yeah, it's not. There is footage available, but I don't think it was widely available. It wasn't part of it. Yeah, because she didn't go on until 2 a.m. and she was nervous about the size of the crowd, and then so she was drinking all day, and then not in the best shape at 2 a.m. when she finally took the stage. So, but despite that, and that's the thing. Despite that, and she was really deep into heroin too, really hooked on it. But despite that, we got this great music. Like she was able to whatever those demons were. I don't know, maybe they were soothed by this music. Maybe they were soothed by the intensity with which she sang that, because if you read about it, she had a lot of problems in her life, a lot of, not great relationships, and, was in love with guys and they didn't treat her well. So, maybe the music was that salve for it, the balm for it, where that, not only did the drugs help her cope, but singing these songs and choosing these songs like she did on Pearl.
Yeah.
Because when you hear her sing Me and Bobby McGee, you feel like she's, it doesn't sound like a guy wrote it.
No, it doesn't at all.
It sounds like she is singing from a real life experience. And that's that was her superpower, is like we said, is just kind of picking material and inhabiting it, not only interpreting it, but inhabiting it, right. And taking it inward. And it's just, and Half Moon, like the song Half Moon. Oh, it's a keeper.
Half Moon.
And I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, and Half Moon is like that. That's where you see like she's able to like be funky too. Like that's a really funky tune, man. I love that. That was one of the ones that really stood out to me on the record.
Yeah, Trust Me on Side 2 has a little bit of a modern sound to it.
Yep,
sounds a little different than the stuff. The stuff on the first side is really that kind of traditional bluesy sounding stuff. Like I said, the second side gets a little different. Trust Me is kind of like, it's got like a nice little guitar riff in there. Sounds a little modern. So again, she was on the precipice of maybe slowly, adding some of these things in. But Eric, what do you got?
Liquid Courage.
Yeah.
Did it enhance her performance, you guys think, or what? I mean, drugs at the time. Can we make that statement or argument that certain drugs helped their performance or hindered?
Based on the Woodstock incident, I would say probably more times than not, no. Yeah. Again, it depends on to what excess, right? In that case, she was drinking all day because she had to wait. Yeah, everybody was behind. Everybody has to do their set, and she didn't go on until 2 a.m. and she was ripped.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like you could say like somebody getting on stage loaded is going to enhance their performance. The one thing I might say is that because of her habits of drinking and smoking, like that rash that everybody loves so much, that's the only thing I could think that it might have enhanced it in that way. But I don't see how getting on stage high and or drunk makes you a better performer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a belt or two to your point, kind of
do a shot to loosen you up. Yeah.
Yeah, like the story in Portchester, probably just hanging out in the bar for a little bit and then going on, and you have a couple of belts. But if you're drinking all day like she was, you're not going to be in any position. I actually have I have a story similar. I went to go see a stand-up comedian years ago who I really liked. I loved his stuff. He was so great. And he was playing at a college in Long Island, and I went, and he was also addicted to heroin. And he came out and he was in no shape. And he couldn't even perform. He had stuff written on paper and was like,
oh my God,
off. And then people were yelling out from the audience, telling him like what jokes, like do the escalator joke, do that. And he was, and he ended up dying not long after.
Oh my God.
It was Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest comics ever.
Yeah, me and my ex-wife, we went and we brought her friends and we pumped up like this guy is so off the cuff. He's like Stephen Wright. It's kind of really dry, and we pumped him up and we brought them and they saw this guy and the show like ended early. It wasn't even that long. It was just it was horrible to see. So I can understand one side of it where, couple to loosen you up, but if you're in the throes of addiction, it's not going to go good, And like I said, just, Morrison, when they went to Denmark, he passed out multiple times. That's why in one performance, he's sitting on a chair when they sing Love Me 2 times on TV, because he was passed out the night before. He passed out on stage. So, it's a sign of the times, though. I mean, that stuff was like normal. That was the thing. Everybody was expanding their mind, right? And taking psychedelics and testing the limits of like their psyche.
Yep.
But some people can scale it back. Like McCartney did it once, I think, and like that was enough. But then you see someone like Lennon who gotten, in the throes of heroin, right? And so there's all these different degrees of back then of what people were doing. And how they were able or were not able to self-regulate.
And let's be honest, like people back in I'm sure even to a certain extent it happens now. They're like, we want to get the performance because we need the paycheck and we need the record to sell the record. So let's give these people what they want so that they'll do what we want them to do. And, I'm sure there was a lot of enabling going on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure. So, all right. What do we have for highlights on this album, Eric?
Every song.
Wow. All right.
There's no filler on this record.
No, it's where everything. It's concise. It's like that 35 minutes that made records back in the day so awesome. There's no bloat at all.
And like you pointed out, Dean, it's there is something a little different on side 2, which kind of reminds me of like what Hendrix was doing, like his first record, and Axis Bold as Love was more of a tamer, as you put it, album, was more soulful, kind of thing. And it just kind of reminds me of that. There's these little like different types of songs, different, perhaps going in different directions. So that it's an interesting, very interesting listen. It's a great listen from beginning to end. And just that intensity is it's there. It's palpable. You know what? I just had a lightning strike. Hang on, Chris. Chris, did you did our Morrison Hotel episode? I did. Okay. So I'm going to draw a line here, right? Because I think in the Morrison Hotel episode, I said the same thing, that the first side was kind of like a little bit more raw and bluesy. And the second side was a little more introspective, right? Like, yep. And that came out in 1970. And guess who produced that album? Paul Rothchild. So do you think he might have taken a little bit of that formula and kind of said, okay, I think we can do that here. We can showcase what Janis is about on the first side. And then on the second side, we can kind of loosen, not have a little fun, you know what I mean? Kind of loosen things up and do some different things. Yep. That's kind of what you get with Morrison Hotel. Same thing. You have Roadhouse Blues. You have all the kind of bluesier, harder edge stuff. And then the second side is a little more introspective. Now, this second side of Pearl is not to that degree, but there is that contrast, though, right? It definitely is a more laid back, a little more ballady on the second side for sure. And really, the ballads were the things like
they were the things that stuck with me after they were done. Like I wasn't expecting that, but like Trust Me and A Woman Left Lonely were the two, like when I was finished listening today before I went out to go pick up my son, like those were the two songs that I really that hung with me after I was done listening.
Yeah. All right. So Eric says all killer, no filler.
I would agree with that.
You could say it's a perfect record. One of those. Yes. And that's very rare. I just there are albums that just you just enjoy the experience of listening to a full album of just great songs. It doesn't matter if they're hits or whatever. It's just this is a true album in the best possible way.
And it's sequenced really well too. Like it's a really good sequence of the way the record rises and falls.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talk about that a lot. And like I said, I think, I can't now help but think that Rothschild had something to do with that as well, especially since this was a posthumous release, that he may have been able to kind of like, this would be the best flow for this collection of songs. Cause he does know what he's doing. He could just be a little, little overblown sometimes, but but he was able to, like I said, he was able to tame the tiger here and really kind of really dial in the sound. And I think that's what makes this album perfect is it's loose, but it sounds like it's in control, and so, like I said, when I said earlier, equating it to a live records have that kind of, also that kind of random chaos feel to it, even the best produced ones. And this is like the live studio captured versions of the songs and him kind of really just reining, just tightening up the edges, not totally glossing the whole thing, but just sanding down those edges on the outside. That makes it just like, it's like, this is just really great to listen to.
Can I just ask you guys that this popped into, like, it struck me today. A Woman Left Lonely, the organ solo. And maybe it doesn't, you don't remember it as well. Maybe it's just something stupid in my head. It reminded me of Whiter Shade of Pale. Mm-hmm. The organ, the melody line of that organ solo reminded me of that song.
You mentioned that in Trust Me, that guitar, whatever the guitar phrase is, it was reminding me of something else too. I'm like, that sounds like something that's later. Like it sounded like something that came later in the 70s. And it was the same. I was kind of like, wow, that kind of sounds different. Yeah. And I felt like I was hearing that. I had heard that somewhere else. But this was the first iteration of it. It sounds like something that came later. But
I mean, obviously this is after Whiter Shade of Pale, but
yes. But still, again, all that stuff was influencing, and everybody was taking influences from each other. So I have no doubt that she probably was like, can we get that kind of vibe, kind of feel, kind of a vibe from it, and see what we can, then put our stamp on it. So, all right, I think that's going to do it. I think that this was a. I think it's about time that we talked about Janis. It was kind of a gaping hole. I was like, we hadn't really given Janis any thought, and I think it was kind of like we need to slot her in because she does deserve, and I think she kind of gets forgotten about too. As much as you can say she's unforgettable, you don't really hear people talk. There was going to be a biopic. Who was going to play her? Not Dakota Fanning, but someone like that was going to play her. Not Dakota Fanning, but a young actress like attached to it. Amanda Seyfried.
Actresses, Amanda Seyfried. That's what I'm looking at. Pink and Renee Zellweger have also been attached to past attempts at a Joplin biopic. None materialized into a completed film.
I remember Zellweger. Yeah.
She did Judy and won an Oscar.
So a year ago, on September 10th of 2024, Rolling Stone said, and I'm sorry if I pronounce this name wrong, Shailene Woodley.
Shailene Woodley.
Shailene Woodley to play Janis Joplin, a new biopic if it actually happens.
She's closer. Amanda Seyfried looks nothing like Janis. I mean,
right.
Shailene Woodley definitely does look like her for sure.
She could be a little bit closer.
And then, I mean, I guess you could say The Rose was kind of like it
was based loosely
based on her life, right? Yeah.
Yep. I saw that in the theater. Eric, you saw that with me in the Pickwick?
I did see it. I don't remember where. Yeah, it was the Pickwick. but I don't think I saw it with you.
Okay. I went by myself then.
Yeah.
Bette Midler. So, all right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Check out this album, especially if like Chris said, you can kind of have an idea of like, oh, okay, Joplin is this one thing, and I hear her screaming all the time, and it's like, yeah, that's an aspect, but it's not screaming.
No,
it's her communicating. She is communicating.
I was very wrong.
Either pain or delight or sorrow. She is a great communicator by using her instrument, and it's raw. This is a raw, not an Ann Wilson heart vocalist who can just, soar with the clouds. Janis has a different tool set, but it can rip your heart out. She's able to really tap in, and she was able to tap in to whatever emotions she needed to deliver these songs like a great artist can that didn't write their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A great interpreter. So any last thoughts, Mr. Christopher Clark, before you kick it over to Eric?
Nope, man. Just check out this record. It's again, you won't be disappointed. It's a really good. It's one of those records that symbolizes the end of the '60s in the best way possible. So
sure. You're absolutely right, Eric.
Yeah, I ditto that. But to your point, and there are some artists out there today that are carrying that torch, and it's all, the music's all the better for it. So, and definitely in the spirit of what she achieved. So,
absolutely
great. But like you say before, it's like, we tend to forget, and it's like, but I was very glad to revisit this record and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
After all this time. And maybe it's because we're getting older, or or what, but it's just, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, the age factor, but it's just, it was just so great to hear.
Speak for yourself, old man.
I am old. I am getting old.
No, you're not. We are young because we are young at heart, and we hope that everybody that's young at heart that's been listening to us, guys, and go ahead and give us a follow. This way, when latest episodes come out, you don't have to worry and hem and haw and think about it and try and contact us. You follow us, you'll get a notification when new episodes come out weekly, as we do. So that's going to do it. And check out a whole bunch of other. We got a whole. If you're looking for adjacent material, we've got a whole bunch of Doors episodes you could check out, and all kinds of great stuff in the back room. You can go sort through it and look through. Browsing is free today, so go check it out. It's a limited time offer. Mr. Christopher Clark.
Thank you again. Thank you for having me, as always.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you on. We enjoy it. We deeply are grateful for the musical knowledge that you bring to forbearance.
I'm glad I have a place to use it.
Yeah.
Instead of trivia nights, and hope
True
they have
that.
or my wife tuning me out as I blather on about some record that she's never heard.
Hey, it's trivia night, and they're going to have a music category. Can you come?
We're all in the same boat there, right? Why we're doing this is so our significant others don't have to listen to let's go on and on.
So otherwise, you wouldn't have invited me if there was no music category. Is that what you're saying? A quick thing. I was explicitly invited to a Name That Tune. All Name That Tune. And I was expressly invited. It's like, oh, he knows a lot about music. And we won a massive amount of alcohol because they were giving away baskets of cheer, which no one does anymore. Like, look up basket of cheer.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And we walked out with bottles. I was giving, it was so much. They're like, well, you take it. You kind of helped. I'm like, I'm not walking out with 8 bottles of alcohol. I don't want that visual on me. Yeah. So we just started giving it out to like the other tables. Like, hey, guys, it was literally that much. And I think I still have a bottle of vermouth. And this was like 7 or 8 years ago. And I think I have a bottle of vermouth over there. Because I'm like, what am I going to do with vermouth? What is this, 1962? I'm going to have a gin Ricky? Or whatever obscure drink uses it. So anyway, that's going to do it. We've kept you here long enough. Our episode about obscure cocktails is coming in a couple of weeks once Eric and I do a lot of research and a lot of drinking, and then we'll bring that to you. He's going to do an episode about the rusty nail, and I'm going to do one about Mai Tais. Until Until then, for Christopher Clark, for Eric Cooper, this has been Dean, and we will catch you on the flip side.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Cooper. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.